See me okay? I'd very much appreciate it. Hope that you guys also had an opportunity to watch some of the videos I put out in the email as well. Really good information as far as what's coming up, what to expect from the market. That's going to be a big deal in the next probably 6 to 9 months in particular with what's going on. Nothing but good news. Don from Leesport. Hey, Don. I love calling these out every once in a while, guys, because everybody thinks that it's baloney and it's not real. So Don from Leesport. Guys, I'm going to open up wide open because we've pulled this down to half-hour long webinars. So any and all questions are appreciated. There is a file you can download, especially for you guys that have not started up with us yet. There's a file you can download. You may have to close your chat to see it, but that has information on what we do and how we do it, and information on all of our programs and products. That is very helpful. Susan says, sounds good. That's great. Any and all. Teresa from Illinois. Fantastic. Hello, my friend. Connie, I know who you are. Peter, hello and can hear you. That's great. All right, guys. Any and all questions are welcome. We've made a couple of you guys that have been keeping track of what's going on the site and on the submission pages. The minimum to turn in for overages is 20 grand, just because the average has popped up all the way to 45,000. On Florida, it's 17.5. It's a little different. There's some reasons for that I really can't get into. There's a lot involved when we make changes like that. Not a big change. Average is really, really high. Just to give you an example, in the last 3 days, I've had one at 78,000, one at 83,000. So the averages are way up there. The average is around 45 grand, but we're getting a lot of big ones right now. Teresa says, glad to be here. Cheryl says, hey, Sean. Gerald from Galt, California. And then Walter. Is it possible to include an automatic timestamp and date on the active files list when it is updated, as well as on the response email receipt when a file is submitted to your system? This would be a great time saver in researchers being able to identify and track their files when submitted. Actually, Walter, we're not going to do that. And there's a couple of reasons for that. There's different ways that we enter depending on the type and the volume that's coming in. And now that we've put people's names on there, we don't even respond anymore if it's a duplicate, which is rare, but occasionally it happens. We don't even respond like that because you can look right at the list and tell where it is. In addition, Walter, you can search now by your name to see all your files, which makes it way easier. You just hit, look, you open the list, it's a PDF, open the list, hit a Control F, okay? Hit Control F, and that allows you to search, put in your name, you can see all the files on there, see what's up and currently updated in your name. So no, we're not going to take the time to do that. We just don't have the time, guys. We're looking at serious volume right now. We need you guys, if anything, to help us be more efficient and not give us put more stuff on our plate. Wilma joining from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Awesome. Guys, remember, I always say this, don't get caught up in working just your area, your county, or your state. It's online from home, right? It's internet, so work it wherever you are. I have people turning stuff in from other countries. Emmanuel, can you share your screen and share examples for the chain of title? Emmanuel, if you purchased, I can do better than that. Click the link inside your book and go to the resources page and watch the title work video. I take you step by step on that. Lou, Sean, what's your success rate when comparing files handled in and files actually recovered and files distributed? Lou, we stopped watching the percentages on that, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it wasn't worth it, and we don't have a comparison with the folks that bought and are actually working on their own. Plus, there's too many variables. So we just don't get into it. Don, do the states accept the remote online notary? Do the states accept the remote online notary? I see what you're saying. Don, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying do the counties. We usually make the claim through the county. Will the counties accept something like that as an online notarization? While there are some counties that do that, we just assume they won't. We send a live mobile notary out there. I would rather be safe than sorry, and I want a copy of that driver's license, and I want a notary that actually showed up in front of the person. I don't want any question on that. I do realize there are some states that are allowing that. We still don't do it. We're going to be safe. Charles from Salisbury. That's fantastic, Charles. That's where my folks live. Crystal, I have 3 cases where the funds have been escheated to the state. Can I send those in? Crystal, this is a support question because it depends on the state. You know, some states there's a deadline at a certain point where you can't get them. But do me a favor, in your ebook, there's a support system. It tells you where to find that right on the website. You've got to read through the question and answers because if you ask a question that's already covered in there, Jeff's going to go read the question and answers. Plus, you have to click a box that says you read it. So come on. But anyway, get up with support on that. Scott, hi there. Scott from Rochester. Jonice is Biloxi, Mississippi. Awesome. Pamela in Nevada. In Nevada, this is Pamela. In Nevada, is it okay to have a quitclaim deed form used to transfer the ownership after a tax foreclosure sale? It had the date of the sale, the full bid price, and showed the ownership was fully transferred to the new owner's name. No wording about a certificate, and there was no court case. Is that why they didn't use a trustee deed upon sale form? Actually, Pamela, my question to you would be, since you looked at that deed, was it and I doubt this, but was it a quitclaim deed where the county transferred as a result of the foreclosure? And if not, then you need to have the deed that actually changes the ownership from the foreclosure itself and compare, because someone might have had that quitclaim deed at the last minute, but if it was not recorded prior to the foreclosure deed, then it doesn't count because it was recorded after the fact. Okay. John, each county has a different system of searching deeds. Not true, John. Most states, the counties themselves, the website may be slightly different, but everybody within that state is going to use the same system. It's either going to be an instrument number, or it's going to be either an instrument number, or it'll be a book and page number in most instances. And it's just a matter of, yes, the website will be slightly different, but it's not a different system. The system's been around from before the 1700s, book and page on deeds. Could you color code each file that you have claimed, Mel? No, we're not going to do that. We put on there if it was a file that was accepted and that's it. That way, nobody's going to turn it in again if it was claimed or if the people died. We even put those on there too, most of the time, to avoid anybody turning something in. There's no point. That would not benefit us in any way, shape, or form to put it on there. So we're not going to do that. Arlene, can you please explain better to me how to contact or potential claimant of the funds cannot be first in line for funds? Arlene, you asked this on YouTube. So in that particular video, what I was talking about is if there was a creditor. So the whole point of a researcher, guys, is to research debt. Was there other debt against the property prior to the foreclosure? Well, if there was, that debt has a priority claim to the overage in front of the owner. So if there was another debt, a creditor, a mortgage lender, whatever, they are first in line to get the money in front of the owner. If and only if. Emmanuel, foreclosing entity will always be the county name. It depends, as long as it's a tax sale, that should be correct, Emmanuel. However, if it's a mortgage foreclosure, obviously, no, it would be the name of the mortgage company that foreclosed on the property. Pamela, yes, it was from the county treasurer to the new owner. Oh, then it wasn't a quitclaim deed. It didn't say quitclaim, or it shouldn't have said quitclaim deed on there. So that's your foreclosure deed, as long as it mentions the county as well. How do you keep recipients from going around you once they find out? Steve, so here's the thing, this is a great question. And everybody says this that have looked at other people's programs. Remember, we do this way different. First of all, we tell them up front what created the money. We also tell them, which is the truth, we're going to use an attorney, regardless of whether or not it's required, regardless of whether or not we have to make a motion or not. We're going to use an attorney if for no other reason to fill out paperwork, if it's a paperwork only state. We also are going to give them 10% of the gross amount being held by the court up front, and then the rest of whatever we agree to on the back end. So our hook is, well, first of all, we're honest, so we don't have to sound like we're scammy. I'll tell you where the money is later, right? That's crap these other guys do. But secondly, I'm giving them money in their pocket to people that have been foreclosed upon. that helps my conversion rate quite a bit, as you can imagine. So it just doesn't happen. But further answers, sorry, question, Steve. They signed a power of attorney to our attorney, and they signed our structured buyout agreement. They just don't go around me. They're not, once they agree, they're not going around me. Pamela, I came across a county that separated their excess funds list between real property and mobile homes. Can we do both? Pamela, as long as the mobile home, well, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's excess proceeds, it's excess proceeds. It doesn't matter what created it. We've done boat slips before. Okay. Yeah, I just don't think you're going to see a problem with that. Julie, how long before files on the surplus list are moved to the purge file list? How long do you work them before moved over? Okay, so Julie, there's actually a calendar, or there should be a calendar on that, on there to tell you about that. Typically, like for instance, if something's turned in right now, it won't be purged until December 31st of next year. I'll give you an example. Roger, on the real foreclosure websites, is the opening bid the same as the final judgment after the sale? No. So Roger, I want to make sure that's a county site. If you're talking about tax overages, don't use third-party sites if you can avoid it. Try to use is the opening bid the same as the final judgment after the sale? No, I'm going to let Jeff chime in here, but I'm going to say no. Arlene, so if the other creditors are first in line, then possibly no money may be left over to collect, huh? Right. You got it, Arlene. You got it. So like, for instance, there's a $50,000 overage, but there was a $20,000 lien against the property, and it was a zero interest lien, let's say, right? Then the owner, you'd put that lien holder for whatever, 20,000, and then the other 30 would be next in line to the owner. That's all you have steps in there. Better yet, if all the creditors suck up all the money, then don't even bother work that, right? Well, right. Absolutely. Jeff, Pamela, it's most likely the foreclosure deed. Some states use a treasurer quitclaim deed. Yeah, sorry, that was throwing me off. Jeff, thank you for jumping in. In the future, open a support ticket with this type of question. Yeah, guys, try to ask questions that are not, application related to the program, more generalized questions, or if you have questions, something odd that's happened. Teresa, started my business about 6 months ago. What's the difference in tax and mortgage foreclosures? Obviously it's being held by usually a county or a sheriff if it's tax. Sometimes it can also be municipalities that handle mortgage foreclosures. But as far as the difference in collecting the overage, we use the exact same method. Erica, I'm having technical difficulties. Okay. Teresa, is the process the same for excess funds for tax and mortgage foreclosures? Oh, you just asked that question. Rogers, yes, county sites. Okay, good. So let's go to Roger's question. Is the opening bid same as final? Let's see if Jeff's got that. Roger, here we go. You cannot estimate surplus funds. You need a surplus funds list. Oh, I didn't even ask that. Yeah, Roger, you need a surplus funds list. Okay, we're not doing the estimation thing. One thing to understand, guys. So for the tax, it's usually that, but however, the county can also add a lot of fees to that, believe it or not. But for mortgage, in the past, we've actually seen banks start the foreclosure under the actual value to create even more interest and to bid it up. So we're not doing estimation. Shanita, in the future, I want to create an LLC. You might not remember this, but what is the NAICS code that you use to identify this kind of business? I have seen different real estate categories, but nothing seems to match it. So Shanita, two things make sense to me. If you're doing an LLC, I have a subchapter S, but LLC is fine, whatever you want to use. And you don't need it if you're going to be a researcher for us, right? Because we're taking the brunt of all that. But I've seen people listed because we use structured buyout as a finance company, and I've seen people listed as a real estate-based company. I would ask your tax accountant that question. John, Arlene says, thanks. John, I search sheriff deed and prior deed and debt, then ask the county if the surplus is still available, which eliminates a lot of files. Then I try to call the person on the deed. If there is not an obituary with the person's name on it, I run into other lawyers already tracing the same file. John, move on to another county if you're in an area where people are pounding it. There's 3,200 counties, brother. Wilma, if the seller has a clause in the warranty deed that says they have the right to use profit of the property until they die, does that mean if the seller has a clause that says they have the right to use and profit of the property until they die, does that mean the seller should get the overage since it is profit? Sorry if this is application. No, that's oddball, Wilma. I don't think it's a warranty deed. I think what you have is a life estate. Look at it. It's probably in small letters beneath the. I believe this is probably a life estate, which means the current owner is the person that is the tenant until they die, and then it reverts back to a remainder man. I'm not sure of that, but that's really what this sounds like. So, and you're saying seller. Um, if you're saying the seller transferred it to somebody but then still had the right to stay there, that's kind of crazy to me. Um, that's a question for support. I'm sorry if you've purchased the program, because I'd have to see the deed. Emmanuel, why is the entire state of Washington forbidden? Some counties will accept up to 5%. But will your strategy, we should get more. With my strategy, Emmanuel, there is no cap. There is no finder cap because we participate in the retrieval. And as a result, um, there's not an issue at all. We just don't like Washington State, Oregon, or Colorado. We don't want to work them. We think the state attorney generals have political aspirations, my opinion, and we just don't think it's worth the time or effort. In a county where the county requires a hearing to be scheduled, it's quite a few of those guys. Claimant files a motion to disperse excess funds. That's right. As a third party, can we show up to the hearing if we have the power of attorney signed and executed? So, Jackie, I'm assuming you're trying to use a power of attorney to yourself. We don't, that's not how we train to do this. You get a power of attorney to your attorney, and the attorney shows up. And in 90% of the states and counties, nobody else, the claimant doesn't have to show up or anything else. The attorney gets it out in the claimant's name, cashes the check in their trust account, forwards it on the last money from there. But I'm assuming what you're saying is you're getting a power of attorney to yourself. Don't do that. Even if the counties grant it and they send it to you, a lot of them are starting to send those in the claimant's name, and they're saying, "Oh, you've got a power of attorney, then you should be able to cash the check." So, Jackie, I'm assuming I'm right here, and that you mean a power of attorney to yourself. We just don't train on that. That's we think a mistake. Amani says he already has an LLC. Good for you. No problem with that. State of Alaska has sales one time a year. This is Greta, and says no third party or money finders. So, guys, we're not finders. We don't fall under the regulations because of the way we do this. But if you run into a state that makes you nervous or whatever, don't work it. Remember, you work this from home online on your computer. There's 3,200 counties, and there's a heck of a lot of lists out there where you can get them and work them. It doesn't matter. You're working from home. But I mean, again, that doesn't really affect us. I understand, and it's boroughs, not counties in Alaska. But Maricel, hey, Sean, certain states have a waiting period before tax overages can be claimed. Does this apply to mortgage overage claims also? Maricel, I found that it does not. Usually if there's a waiting tail, and by the way, I see certain states, the only one I know of for sure that I know is California. The counties have the tax sales only once a year, and they wait approximately 1 year from that foreclosure before they'll look at any claim and then grant a claim, usually within a couple of months. So that's the only one I know for sure has a waiting period per se. Also, interesting to note, whenever people bring up waiting periods, sometimes that's for finders, right? You can't contact them, and then you got this percentage at this point, and then you got this percentage at that point. We're not finders. It doesn't apply to us. I will check that, but there were 2 warranty deeds dated on 2 consecutive dates. Yeah, Wilma, this sounds like somebody tried to buy that thing at the last minute, right? People sometimes make that play, and then it was also transferred. So take a look at that. Profit of property. Take a look at both of them, and here's the deal, Wilma. The recording stamp on that deed will tell you date and time. First one in wins if they're not the same. In other words, if they're in opposition to one another, whichever one was recorded first wins. It's a race to the courthouse, so to speak. Peter, if you are an S corp, will you provide a 1099 to the corp or not? Typically, Peter, I don't 1099 companies because I'm not required to, because you guys are required to turn in your own information on that. So I typically don't I typically don't 1099 an LLC or a corporation because I'm not legally required to do that. I do 1099 individuals. Greta, especially no caps in Georgia. Again, Greta, no caps anywhere for me. Alaska, she says, is a strict state about having an attorney. Greta, hey guys, I really need to make this clear. I don't care what the state says. We use an attorney. We think you're being silly, foolish if you don't use an attorney. Okay? Gives you credibility. You tend to get paid faster. They can break the check out for you. They get it out in the claimant's name. And you're participating by giving them 10% of the gross amount up front. You know, if you partner with us, that's out of our pocket, right? But 10% up front and then the rest of whatever you agree to on the back end. And that gets you out of that issue. Marla, so we can't work this in Colorado. You can work it in Colorado. We teach you how to do it on your own. The system tells you how to do that. We've chosen not to because we don't feel like it's worth the aggravation when there's 46 states that you can work. And then you can also work Florida if you have a bundle that has that in it. So there's no point. John, is there a cheap way to search a surplus list? With cheap way to search a surplus list where the county says you can come in and search the deeds at the courthouse for nothing. John, you can search deeds at courthouses for nothing everywhere. You can also search deeds at courthouses online almost everywhere. I think you had trouble figuring that out online, so you're thinking you're going to go in person. Maybe I'm wrong. Do the research yourself online, guys. It's not hard. You can simply Google recorder of deeds or register of deeds, county name, state name, and something will come up. Now, sometimes you have to go through like a state site and then it'll have a drop down to find the county or whatever, but don't be on there. Erica, please text me the answer. I found a business. Erica, we're doing a live webinar. I found a business that has been closed for over 5 years. 20 properties were sold at the tax sale. If I purchase the name, can I file for overage or should I stick with using the former owner? Yes, I have legit contact info. The way you're saying this is you're going to do this on your own, then it's your call. You don't buy the name, you buy the business, right? So there's a difference because you're going to have a bill of sale drawn up for that, and you're going to have to record that with the Secretary of State where that business is recorded. Might not be where they were doing the business, maybe in another state, but they were doing business in this state, and they were also registered there as a foreign corporation. But find wherever they were recorded first. And you can buy the business, and you'll have to have a bill of sale for that, and you'll have to talk to the Secretary of State on how you're going to record that you are now the officer for that same business. So you can do that, or you can work through that owner, but then if it's a business that's been closed for 5 years, they're going to have to reopen the business in order to work with you. So it's your call on how you want to work that. We don't do that. You know, if you're going to turn in as a researcher, we're not going to do that. We did teach people how to do that. It's called our Zombie Business Reviver, and we taught people how to do that. But that's going to be your call. Let me see something real quick. Yeah. Guys, remember, it doesn't take long to figure out how to get the Register of Deeds or the Recorder of Deeds office, and it's not hard to search that. Just rewatch the title worksheet, rather the title video that's on the page, the resources page, so you know we've got it. I'm not seeing any more questions. Jeff may have closed down the questions at this point. I don't see any Q&A, which good. Guys, one last time, you really need to download the files, the file list. This is, or rather the file that we have here, it's a download. And it has a lot of information, especially if it's been bought from us on the programs we have, how we do things. And it's really good to download that if you haven't already. Also, you can go to the page and the website, surplusfundsriches.net, and you can go there and click on products. And there is an overview of all of our programs at the bottom of the page. Once you've read that, if you haven't purchased, this is not for post-purchase questions. Support handles post-purchase. But if you haven't bought yet and you want more information, Jeff, let's shut it down. I've got like 8 questions now to handle. If you haven't bought yet and you've got a question, you're welcome to call in between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. on my cell. Monday through Friday, Eastern Time at 704-791-9398. Pre-purchase questions, guys, pre-purchase. We have a really good support system set up for post-purchase. Jeff says, yeah, guys, don't use Q&A. We're going to erase those. Julie, is it common and legal for the county folks to refuse to tell you if any claims have been made on unpublished excess proceeds? I called the county treasurer's office to verify on two were not available and was told they would not give me that information. Hey, Julie, one of the things we did is we said not to worry about it if the list is 2 months old or less. We may actually be allow that to go out a little further. But if you've got a recent list, I wouldn't worry about it. Wilma says the hard title research video is really helpful. Thank you, Wilma. I am going to be redoing those over the next coming months. I've got to do more information. Plus, apparently, well, anyway, there's a couple of reasons I'm doing that for compliance. Does New York refund from tax foreclosure? Scott, I'm going to give you the easy answer. I don't know, because it's, first of all, we've had people have a hard time getting accurate list on mortgage overages. But we've never had one turned in. That's why I don't know. Thank you for your time, Connie. Kelly, hi, this is my first time here. Excuse me. We started our business 2 months ago. One of pain point is the skip tracing step within the surplus process. Any suggestions on the best way to skip trace? So Kelly, I'm gonna leave you guys with this. This is gonna be the last thing I cover today. Good question. Obviously, you could make it our problem and partner with us, and we do that for you, right? With the national surplus. You just research debt and ownership, fill out a worksheet with that, turn it in. We do the rest. We find them, put the deal together, hire the mobile notary and the attorney, and we give you 8% of the gross when we successfully get the money out. The other one is the Premier 16. Both these programs teach you how to do it completely on your own using our method, which is a structured buyout method, always using attorneys. The other one is the Premier 16, where you get 16% of the gross. But in addition to researching debt, you got to find them, call them, and make sure you got the right guy in the room to speak with us. We do cover in the ebook that the three main skip tracing systems that we recommend are IDI data, also Microbilt, Microbilt. If you do call Microbilt, talk to Randy Mostetler, okay? The number will be on microbilt.com, okay? Talk to Randy Mostetler, tell him you talk to Sean Bougie with the results team, or well, Greater Good Company, and he will waive the startup fee. Also, believe it or not, White Pages Premium has been great. We start with IDI data, and we send it to that person. We also double check the deeds to make sure if there was not a different, make sure there wasn't a different notification address than the property address, because they may have bought it and not actually lived there. So of course, your starting point or reference point is huge when you're skip tracing, right? IDI is very, very good. However, we also use Microbilt. Microbilt is even better than IDI at finding possible relatives and associates and family members. And as a result, and this is where I think a lot of you guys miss this, you don't just mail, you mail it to the claimant, but not just to their address. Listen to me. You mail it also to the possible relatives and associates' addresses, and you do the same thing with phone calls. When you leave voicemails, trying to reach Johnny Cash, please give me a call. They're going to call you back. Hey, you got the wrong number, but that's my brother-in-law. Hey, you got the wrong number, but I know that guy. Here's his number. That's important. The other thing that's extremely important, besides using multiple sources if you need to, and doing a consistent rotation or cadence when you're getting in touch with these people, as far as mailings and that type of thing, you've got to do mailings and calls, guys. You can't do just one or the other. We've had too many people say that. It just doesn't work. Texts have been ineffective for us. But IDI, Microbilt, and White Pages Premium. White Pages Premium is awesome because their reverse lookup by address gets you the number of the person that was living there. Oftentimes, if it's a recent foreclosure, that's when it's actually, they're renting the property from the owner, and they'll give you the right number. Here's Jeff from Microbilt Skip Tracing. Call Randy Mosteller. I think it's Stetler, Jeff, may be wrong, at 866-538-9815. That's 866-538. Normal business time, guys. Eastern, he's on the East Coast. I think they're in Georgia. 866-538-9815. Speak with Randy only. Tell me what Sean Bougie or Greater Good Company. Yes, sign up as a Judgment Recovery Company. Great. I'm glad you put that up there, Jeff. So Kelly, I hope that answered your question. The bottom line is, if you're using really cheap, we have people say they use radars and all this other stuff. That's a joke, guys. These free services are really, really cheap services. You get what you pay for. Looks like that's the last one, or at least the last one Jeff allowed to come through. I'm really liking these quick down and dirty webinars. Again, After you've read either the file, if you download that file, or if you go to the website, which would be surplusfundsriches.net, go there, go to the products, read that overview, that insider's guide at the bottom. If you still have questions, pre-purchase questions, give me a call. Post-purchase are for Jeff through the set system we have in place. Thanks again, guys, for coming. Hope you guys have a great night.